Hey guys, welcome to my channel. Today I will be reading from the Am I the Asshole subreddit. So let's jump into it. Our original poster is a 23-year-old woman who says that she was invited to her friend Sasha E's house for her birthday. And they were gonna pregame before going to bars. Was working all day from AM until 7:30 p.m. So she rushed home, showered, got ready, grabbed some wine and drove to Sasha E's house and arrived right at 8:30. She spent the whole day texting Sasha about how much she was looking forward to the party and the girls seemed excited about being there. Then hung up her phone with her boyfriend and went to knock on the door. She heard music and talking, so she knew that everyone was there, but figured that Sasha probably didn't want to stop the music or the conversation just to come and open the door. So waited a minute and knocked on the door. She heard the music and talking inside, so she knew that they were there, but nobody answered. Said that she noticed that Sasha had a Ring doorbell, so she decided to wave in front of it, figuring that the notification would let Sasha know that somebody was at the door, but still nobody opened the door. So texted Sasha again to let her know that she was at the door, but instead of opening the door, heard the deadbolt click and she was locked out. Goes on to say that at this point, she was standing at the door awkwardly, so she called her boyfriend to vent to him about how she felt that Sasha was ain't even gonna let her in. And her boyfriend tried to convince her to knock again, saying that maybe it was just a miscommunication. So she sent another text saying, "Okay, I'm out front." And 10 minutes later, Sasha responded with "Okay, sounds good." So knocked again and loudly called out to Sasha. Nobody answered. Said that she could hear the music had gotten quieter and she could hear Sasha talking and saying, "Guys, I think she's here." But nobody came to the door. So knocked again and shouted to her. But then she heard the deadbolt click again and the door stayed locked. She stepped away from the door and called her boyfriend again. And when she hung up the phone, she sent a text saying, "So I've been knocking for over 10 minutes and no one let me in. So I'm going home." And Sasha immediately called her, but didn't answer. And about 15 minutes later, she received a text from Sasha asking why she was mad and saying that Sasha looked through the peephole and didn't see anyone. And that is where we got the update. So in an edit, added that she does have a key, but she never has used it because Sasha always opens the door for her when she gets there, so she didn't think to use it this time. And in another edit, added that she was just seeing Sasha's friend's feet and legs through the peephole, but never saw Sasha. So, yeah, that is the story. Now we have to decide if is the asshole for storming out of her friend E's house after being locked out. Let us know what you think in the comments down below. And now we are going to look at some comments and see if we can find some good ones to read. This first comment is from a user. As somebody who has a Ring doorbell, I can confirm that it sends a notification to your phone every single time it detects motion. Also, if the person standing there rings the doorbell, it also sends a notification. If she genuinely thought you weren't there, she would have to have had her phone on silent, do not disturb mode or airplane mode, and not connected to Wi-Fi or Bluetooth for it not to send her a notification. That's just dumb. I agree. There's absolutely no way that she didn't get a notification. And if she did not get a notification, she needs to check her settings because the Ring doorbell isn't going to work properly if she doesn't have good connection. So I disagree with that user. I think that's absolutely ridiculous. This next one is from another user. It seems like a bit of a stretch to say she didn't see through the peephole when she could see her feet. I'd say it's clear is not the asshole. But just to be sure, I need to ask when knocked. Did she knock on the door frame or the actual deadbolt? Because if she knocked on the deadbolt, Sasha wouldn't have been able to see anything when she looked through the peephole, because the peephole is in the door and the deadbolt is usually set into the door frame. Just something to think about. That is a good question. I hadn't thought of that before, but that does make sense. If was knocking on the side of the door where the deadbolt was, then Sasha probably couldn't see anything. So that would make it more likely that she didn't see This next comment is from another user NTA. Also, I don't know who is more in the wrong here, the friend who did not answer the door or the friend who did not use her key, because keys exist for a reason. But it's clear that knows her way around the house and the door maybe She should have used the key. But also, if your friend is ignoring the doorbell and the knocks, you should use your key. I completely agree. A key exists for a reason. You're supposed to use it. And Op clearly has a key because she's been there before. But I understand both sides. Like, yes, use your key, but also your friend should be answering the door. This next comment is from another user. NTA, but you should probably put your key in the door in the future. And honestly, if your friend did not answer several knocks in a row, call her up and ask why. But she was probably trying to keep the party going. If she didn't answer, then she might have been busy talking to someone or something. But after the second time of not opening the door, I would have used the key. Also, Op, why did you knock and shout rather than call her name quietly? Because I feel like you were doing it to upset her by making her scared of what was going on outside her door. I know you were scared and upset, but I feel like you kind of wanted to get a rise out of her, which is understandable because you were frustrated. But yelling and knocking loudly could have made her scared, especially if the music was loud and she couldn't hear you. That is true. I think Op was feeling very frustrated and angry at this point. So she probably wanted to get her attention, but I can also see Sasha's side of things. Like, yes, it was her birthday, but she was having fun with her friends, and then somebody keeps knocking on the door. She's gonna be scared. So I think it would have been better if Op had called her quietly and been like, "Yo, Sasha, it's Op. Why aren't you opening the door?" Or something like that. This next comment is from another user, Ayema, 31-year-old guy, and I cannot imagine a scenario where friend comes over and I do and answer the door. If the doorbell doesn't do it, would go and check the cameras on my phone. I don't know about Ring cameras sending notifications. So if Op really stood there for 15 minutes without getting an answer, then I think it's reasonable to assume that she should leave. But I agree that calling would have been better than knocking loudly. Yeah, I agree with that too. Call instead of knock. Alright, so now it is time for me to give my thoughts. So I think that Op is not the asshole. I think it was perfectly reasonable for her to wait for her friend to answer the door. I think that 10 to 12 minutes is long enough to wait for somebody to come to the door. If the music is blaring and they're laughing and having a good time, they're probably not going to hear you knock anyways. So why not just wait a few minutes and then call your friend to see what is going on? And I think that Sasha should have answered the door. I think that it's rude to ignore your doorbell or knocks on the door, especially if you have a guest coming over. So I think that Sasha is definitely in the wrong here. I think that she should have answered the door, and if not, then she shouldn't have invited Op over in the first place. But I do have to admit that Op was a little passive-aggressive with the last text. Instead of saying, "So I've been knocking for over 10 minutes and no one let me in, so I'm going home," she could have said something along the lines of, "Hey, Sasha, I'm still here and waiting to get in. If you're not gonna let me in, then I'm gonna head home." So I do think that Op could have handled it a little better. But overall, I still stand by my decision that she is not the asshole. Alright, so that is today's Reddit story. Hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please leave a like. If you want to hear more stories like these, then consider subscribing. I truly appreciate when you guys do that, and I just want to thank you all for what you do to help support this channel. It really does mean a lot to me. So thank you. Anyways, I hope you have a good day or night, wherever you are in the world, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.